Sierra.
Video's live.
Thank you and good afternoon. Welcome to the regular board meeting for July 28th, 2021. We're already well past the halfway point of 2021 and things just keep coming. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize this meeting is taking place on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish people and the nations throughout the Cowichan region. And I'm so thankful to be here with all of you today for our last meeting for a short period of time to rest and recuperate before we come back, hopefully, to in-person meetings in September. With that, if there's no changes or additions to the agenda, Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have one item of new business, correspondence from Paul Manley, MP Nanaimo Ladysmith, with a request to sign a joint letter on freighter anchorages in the Southern Gulf Islands. It was distributed by email yesterday. And just to note that the regional services report for the one recommendation from this morning has been updated in the agenda.
Thank you. And where have we added the letter request under correspondence?
NB, new business.
Okay, I'll
move as amended.
Thank you very much. And seconded by Director Marsh. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item M1, adoption of the regular board meeting minutes of July 14th, 2021.
If there's no errors or omissions, a motion to adopt moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Staples. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No business arising from the minutes and no requests to appear for public input period. So I will move our delegates into the meeting. So on to delegations. Item D1 is Mike Pearson, District Manager, Vancouver Island District, Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. And with him is Don Legault, Operations Manager, South Island. And they are providing an update on Ministry 2021-2022 programs for information.
Thank you and welcome Mr. Pearson and Mr. Legault. I will turn it over to you for, I've already had a sneak peek at the presentation, but I won't ruin it for the rest of our audience. So please go ahead.
Great. Well, yes, thank you very much for having us. I don't know if I should share my screen just for the PowerPoint. Okay.
Please do.
Just give me 1 second. Yeah, I appreciate you letting us come today. We just wanted to connect and touch base. Hopefully you can see my screen now. Can you see that?
Yep, we can see it.
Perfect.
And maybe full screen it. When you start your show, we'll probably be able to see the whole thing, but yes, we can see the PowerPoint there.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, thanks again. Not too much today. We really just wanted to take an opportunity to provide you a bit of an update on what we've been doing and kind of where we're going, and then really just take the chance to hear any comments or feedbacks or questions at this point. I'm trying to catch everyone before too much summer holidays and maybe before the fall. So I'll quickly kind of go through this PowerPoint and please stop me at any point with any questions. I hope you guys can all see it. My screen's weird, so hopefully it's working.
Yeah, it's just it's in a small frame. We're not seeing it full screen, but I think we can all make it out.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'll just quickly go through what we're up to. I've kind of just summarized the last sort of 3 years of accomplishments. I won't go through these specifically, but just in general, we've spent quite a bit of funding recognizing the state of the roads within the Cowichan Valley and trying to keep up as best we can. We've had 4 major projects. Some are actually just wrapping up this summer. Crofton Road, I'm very happy to say, just was finished last week. So that one's been many years in the making. So anyway, those are the major resurfacing projects that we've finished in the last 3 years. About $14.2 million there. We've also been sort of tackling sort of a lot of the major maintenance works. This included Allenby Road resurfacing, and shoulder widening on Cedar Road, and a bunch of patching and culvert replacements. Well, fortunately, we were able to do a lot of those over the last winter. We were successful to get some stimulus funding, so we spent most of the winter replacing as many culverts and doing as much work as we could. Emergency repairs and washouts. I would say thankfully we haven't had too many of those recently, but we have had a couple. The notable ones being River Bottom Road, Zuhalem Road, bank stabilization, which is still ongoing, something we're still working with Cowichan tribes on. And then Highway 1 at Mount Sicker, that was around the Halalt and some flooding there last winter, I think. And then other projects, that's sort of this sort of captures basically the rest of our programs, be it safety or through our own district program, as well as transit. So these are things more that you'd normally go to Don McGo, our ops manager, to ask for or advocate for. And this is sort of the everything else box, from the Highway 18 elk signs and cameras and that we've put up, or the toad fencing that we recently did on Bargem Road, that kind of stuff. So there you go. There's about $1.8 million worth of other stuff that we've been working on as well. High overview of what we're doing for planning right now. We are getting very close on Highway 1A, which is Mount Sicker Road, Chemainus Road, goes through the whole First Nations. That's a resurfacing project, and we're working closely with the whole to get that to tender, hopefully within the coming weeks. We're that close, and the intent would be to get that finished this year or early into the spring of next year, depending how quickly we can get that tender out. We're on the very final strokes of getting that close. We're also looking at the Highway 1 River Road intersection in Chemainus, just looking at what North Cowichan is doing along River Road itself. Just kind of looking at that, as well as the development that's happening along the Trans-Canada through Chemainus. Greendale Road culvert repairs. I don't know how many of you might be familiar with this one. It's kind of a complicated culvert system that goes under Highway 18, under the Cowichan Valley Trail, and then down to the river. So we've started work on that. It is showing its age, and we've had some issues there. So trying to start to scope that out. Shawnigan Mill Bay Renfrew Road, Masons Beach area. Those of you who know it, it's kind of a very busy, complicated intersection. And so we've got a little bit of funding this year to sort of look at what options might be there and what we could do. Trying to develop a program or a project out of that one. And finally, Hutchinson Telegraph Road intersection. I think this one's been around for a few years. We've got a lot of requests to make that a four-way stop. And so it sounds easy just to throw up some stop signs, but there's some weird geometry going on there. So we're doing a bit of work to see what needs to be done to make that happen. Those are the sort of the highlights. Don, I don't know if I've missed anything. You jump in anytime.
No, I think we're good. With Hutchinson, it's more so the turning radius of the large trucks. We want to make sure that we're protecting the stop signs and get a design that will work, and make sure we've got sufficient room when we go and put in four-way stops. So.
Great, thanks. Okay, so my next slide here, it's current paving. I've called it current paving priority areas within the CVRD, and I've sort of just put this out there really just to sort of spark a bit of conversation, and also just let you know what the areas that we're seeing that we need to sort of focus on. So, because we want you to kind of know where our heads are at. Looking at Highway 1A, as I mentioned, hopefully getting that out this year. Highway 1, Maze Road to Miller Road. That's basically paving Highway 1 through Duncan. It's looking pretty rough. Highway 18 from Solomos back to Highway 1. Cowichan Lake Road in general. Sections of it are getting pretty rough. Shawnigan Lake Road, Zuhalem Road, Telegraph Road. Telegraph Road we've been picking away at. We did a project there just last year, but there's still more to do. And the general theme here, apart from the numbered routes, is looking at those sort of major collectors on the side road network, and how we can tackle those, because we want to get to those first. And as we did with Telegraph Road last year, when there's opportunities to add shoulders or do widening, that sort of thing, unless it turns into a major construction project, we're trying to incorporate all those elements of active transportation as best we can with these projects. Again, it's for the South Island, which is Don's area, so the service area 1. Most of our priorities are within the CVRD. We have a couple other project areas that we're sort of still looking at, like Fulford Ganges Road on Salt Spring and East Duke Road. But I would say the majority of our priorities right now for paving in South Island is within the CVRD. Funding and grants, and it's probably a little bit late now, but there's still 2 more days left to get any applications in for the active transportation grant funding. I've got the link there in the PowerPoint, but that's a program that's available for planning as well as construction. So I encourage everyone to apply for that. And our transit minor betterments program, I think the CVRD's been very good at using this funding either through us or getting the funding yourselves to do. These are for minor upgrades to transit stops, you know, building pullouts or putting up signs and that kind of thing. So that's still around as well. And here's just a list of sort of key contacts for the ministry as well as for our maintenance contractor. That's more just for your information to make sure that you know who to talk to and have everyone's number. And finally, here we have I have development services. These are our 3 development services officers within South Island. These are your contacts for anything related to land development or subdivisions and approvals. So I want to make sure you guys have those contacts as well if you have any questions. And that is my very short PowerPoint presentation. And so at that point, I think I'd love to open it up to any questions.
Thank you. And if you can lower your presentation, I'll be able to see the full board and get all their questions. The first hand I saw, though, was Director Morrison.
Quick on the draw today.
Go ahead, Director Morrison.
Thank you. Great to see you, Mike, Don. My question sort of maybe a little out of our realm, but I think is important. You know, you're never getting ahead with your paving and repairs. It's always a state of catch up. We've got Union of BC Municipalities Convention coming up in September, and it's always a case of dollars. And if there's going to be more blacktop put down and more repairs and more culverts and climate proofing and that sort of thing done, it's going to come down to dollars. So can you tell us a little bit about the state of affairs of the budget that you've got to work with? And I know you got to be careful in this, but how can we help to push for better funding for your ministry and for the kind of work that we really need to get done in our area, and I guess others too?
Yeah, certainly that's a question that's it's kind of tough for me to give a great answer to, only because it's well outside of my control. But you know, where Don and I like to work really closely with you is on the priorities. So making sure that whatever paving projects that we are picking and how we are spending the budget that we do get, it's going to the best places and the best projects. That's really like the best that we can do at this level is making sure we're paving the right stuff, doing the right projects. But advocating for more funding, of course, yeah, I think that's more of a political and a government question. But yeah, we just do that. We do the best we can with the funding we get.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Director Morrison? Good for now. I have Directors Wilson, Toporowski, Salmon, Yanni DiNardo, and Martman on my list, and then Nicholson. So Director Wilson, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lots of speakers, so I'll keep this short and brief. Thanks very much for the great work you guys are doing down there, Mike. Don and Tina, they're brilliant with the kind of stuff that I have to bring them. And I'm very, very pleased with what's been achieved so far, and for the attention that they pay in there with MCON as well. One of the things I've noticed that the new road markings that have gone down, for instance, down Hutchinson Road and various other places, seem to be a lot more visible and a lot longer lasting than what has previously been used. And I'm wondering whether this is because you're using some kind of new product, or whether it's just because of the weather conditions haven't been what they are. I would like to say, I'd like to think you're using a new product which which lasts a little bit longer. And Mr. Chair, I do have a follow-up after that.
Yeah, Don, I don't know if you would know more about anything about.
Well, I know that the province has worked diligently over the last few years to come up with sort of a made in BC paint. We did change to a latex, and they've been adding a little bit more and some different beads in it to try to make it more reflective. That's the only thing I can really say is that the change that have been made. There's
yeah. Yeah, it's very noticeable too. So thanks to you guys for pushing this along, and I'm sure you have been. Now, one of the other things is, as you know, Don, I've been in close contact with the first responders in our area with the number of fairly serious accidents which happen at, for want of a better term, uncontrolled or semi-controlled left turns off the highway, for instance, at Cooksyla and Fisher, and there have been a number of near misses there with a number of very serious accidents. And I have been asking if we could do the same as happens down in Mill Bay, where you've got dedicated left turns. You don't turn left unless you've got the green arrow to go, and you stop if you don't have that. So I'm wondering if there's been any progress made on that front.
Well, we have discussed it with their traffic engineers. They are a little reticent to just go automatically put them in if they're not necessarily required. I believe that we are looking at Delume as being sort of one that we would push forward because of some of the numbers of incidents and traffic volume and opportunities at that spot. I think some of the ones, if you take a look, say at Hutchinson, there's really good sight distance in both directions. So in theory, it's okay, but it's sort of one thing that at some point, I'm sure we would love to have all of the intersections with, priority left turns and stuff. So.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Don. Maybe we can have a few more traffic circles instead. Keep the traffic flowing.
Thank you. Director Toporowski, then Salmon.
I can see Director Wilson volunteering his time planting some shrubs in the middle of that roundabout. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Pearson, for your presentation. My question is about the slide with the resurfacing and through Highway 1A through Mount Sicker to Crofton Road. Maybe I missed it in your presentation, but if you could touch on that. Why resurfacing versus paving?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it is the same thing. Resurfacing, paving. We use them interchangeably, but it is paving. So yeah, the condition of the asphalt through there is pretty terrible right now. It's been all chewed up from utility installations and things. So it is one and the same thing. It's resurfacing is paving, repaving.
Follow up?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you. So if you're working, it's going to go through Halalt. Is there a possibility for putting sidewalks for bicycle lanes or something like that along the roadway?
That's something that we've been working with Halalt on for a very long time to try to get pedestrian accommodations through there. It is something that's very tricky because there's not a lot of road right of way, and you're right up within reserve. So we're still working with them on getting to something that would probably be partially within reserve and partially within the right of way. So they're very open and to working with us on that, which is great. So the short answer, I guess, is yes, there will be some accommodation for pedestrians, but it's going to be between us, both within highways and also on the part of the Halalt.
Thank you. Moving on, Director Salmon, then Director Yanni DiNardo.
Yeah, thank you. So a couple of Mill Bay questions. I get a lot of questions about the narrow shoulders along Mill Bay Road from the shopping plaza south. Just wondered if there's any plans for any shoulder widening or other work along there.
I'm not sure if there's necessarily plans to do it. I know that Tina Rogers, who's our area manager from that area, has gone out and sort of basically walked it to take a look and see what can be done. I think if you look at the northbound side, basically does have a wider shoulder through a portion of it. She's looking at what would be necessary to widen on the southbound shoulder. So we're hoping to put together a program and put together a project, say, for future years. So.
Yeah, appreciate it. That's great. My other question is there any update on the roadside path along Shawnigan Mill Bay Road?
As far as I know, that is your project and it's moving along quite nicely. The only real issue is just crossing of the creek, and that'll have to be delayed because we do need to have a project to replace the pipe. But other than that, it's moving along quite well. I think
we're waiting for
we're either at 90% or something, but I believe that we've supplied all of our comments to your consultant. So,
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Director Yanni DiNardo, then Martman.
Mr. Chair, through you to Mike or Dawn, I'm not sure. Well, first of all, it's a comment and a thank you for the Cowichan Bay. I didn't see it on anything here, but you did repair the Cowichan Bay with so-called bridge walkway, because the village of Cowichan Bay, as we all know, is very super unique and very unusual and hard for all of us to wrap our heads around. So I want to thank you for that. And also for, if there's going to be, I'll thank you for the cleaning and the brushing that happened with the community. And is there a possibility that that could be put on as an annual project, that something that it happens in the village annually? This way, there's just a group of citizens, Cowichan Bay Improvement Association, that want to sort of help out with that, and it really kind of rallies the village people together for that project. So I just wondered if there was a possibility that that would be put on as an annual maintenance at all.
I think it's something that we would like to, say, meet with the Cowichan Bay folks to discuss. We do have concerns about vegetation removal on that slope. I'm sure as everybody's aware, there's a couple of pieces that did slide down. When you go in and you start, say, cutting the vegetation, you're not drawing all the moisture out of the slope, which helps stabilize the soil. But I think that there are some things that we can do that, like, say, similar to what we did this year, and just sort of do vertical cuts as opposed to the horizontal at the base and stuff. So it'd be nice to meet with the association and see, let them know what it is, what our concerns are, and then we can go from there, maybe come up with a plan to work together.
Thank you. I totally understand that a lot of that vegetation is actually keeping the bank up because of all of our drainage issues as well. So I understand that. And then there is another thing that I was wondering about when we do brushing. Well, my concerns for the brushing is also the wildlife, like in the spring, the nesting, the songbirds and that. So is there any sort of schedule that you sort of watch for the wildlife at all? I know we still again had somebody brushing in our the heron rookery, so I had panicked phone calls. So it's something that should be passed on to either the next consultant or whatever, that the no brushing should happen around that wildlife. I just wanted to mention that, as well as hedgerows along the farmers' fields left alone too, where it's not impeding on sight lines. Thank you.
Thank you. Any response there, or can I move on to my next speaker? You guys are just taking that for information?
I think generally our maintenance contractor are expected to brush outside of windows. And what I mean by that is environmental windows, making sure that they are avoiding nesting areas and nesting periods. So, I mean, that is something that they're doing. We did have one call about brushing close to a creek, but we actually left all the vegetation over the creek. So, yeah, okay, I will pass on about the heron rookery.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Martman next, then Nicholson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the presenters, thank you very much for this. I really welcome and look forward to when you bring it forward to the board. And being a new director, there's gaps in my information that I just don't have, and I want to give a shout out to your staff, to Stefan and Bryce, because they've actually been trying to fill those gaps as best they can, and proactively too, not just waiting for it to be reactive. So they're really being helpful. I happened to be at a function with the minister the other day, and I mentioned that to him. So I'm hoping that will trickle down through to you guys in terms of money. Who knows? But so thank you for that. But I do know in your presentation that it seems to be a lot of road work, Ladysmith and South, and I don't know, in main roads not mentioned. And so I'm just wondering about in some of the improvements or projects that are planned, is anything being missed? Because, for example, I'm wondering if you're looking at shoulder paving from the highway up to Code Road to finally put all that shoulder all the way through into Cedar, like you started the Cedar section right now. So that's one thing. I'm also interested about, some of the roads that people complain about in this area, like Brenton Page, and, is that really in the Mid Island versus South Island? Like, I'm not sure how they get categorized, and if are they on your radar, or you would have brought them forward if they were? So that's the first question. I have a follow-up after that, Chair.
Yeah,
Three
no.
questions in one. Please go ahead.
No, it's a good point. I should have included main roads contact information as well. Yeah, it is a bit of a funny boundary for our service areas, but certainly we are very well aware of Brenton Page Road and all the concerns that constantly get raised out there. It is on the radar. It's more focused in Central Island, but I should have included it on the list here too. So I'll do that next time for sure. Yeah, Cedar Road. We did do the shoulder widening out there just this last winter, and we're doing some more this summer. It does sort of cross boundaries between yourselves and the RDN, so maybe it doesn't get as much of a highlight at this table, but it's certainly on our radar as well.
And thank you. And a follow-up, I have two questions, I guess, because we're always looking for opportunities if we can partner in any way on shoulders on roads. So, like the work done on Yellow Point, if we could have found a way to partner to make those shoulders a little bit wider, it would have been great. So I'm looking for those opportunities with Bryce and Stefan to talk about it. And the last one is a bit of a question about, I understand there's property owned by the Ministry of Transport across from the airport, and I just wanted to confirm that.
We have our pit right there. It's called Nesbitt Pit. It's
Right.
directly across the highway from the airport. Yeah.
And I just wanted to put on your radar that whole area is a huge concern to us, if you didn't know it already, about aquifer and protection of the aquifer. And I just wanted to, if any plans are being done to change that from a pit or, would that be something that you know about or would be able to inform us?
Yeah, I would say the short answer is it's a pit that it's been there since we built the highway back in the 90s, like upgraded the highway in the 90s. It hasn't been active in many years. We don't have any plans immediately to change anything. At this point, I'm not sure how much is left to actually mine out. So at this point, I mean, apart from doing some cleanup in there, we have a lot of old materials and stuff like that. There's no immediate plans for that land.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Director Nicholson, then Smith, Staples, and Kuhn. So Director Nicholson, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate the update. And of course, it's a great opportunity to thank you for the Barnjum Toads. The work that you've done there was great. Apparently they're using it, and the underpass. And people really like fog lines. They find them really helpful. And so the ones you put along Allenby have been great. And you've resurfaced a few side roads in Glenora and Sunrise over in Salem, and people are just ecstatic. So we really appreciate that. My question is about Miller Road, though. So there's been a lot of work along there by City of Duncan and Cowichan Tribes to put a water main in. And I am really hoping that the CBRD can do a roadside pathway along there as well. But I don't see the road's a mess. So people are really hoping it's also going to be resurfaced when that project sort of comes to completion. So will that happen?
We don't have any immediate plans there for that, although I know that there has been discussions even with CBRD staff and Cowichan Tribes about the want for a pedestrian pathway along Allenby and then Indian Road related to that utility installation. I think it kind of got stalled and hung up because they were trying to get their utilities done first. But I know even with our active transportation grant folks, they're interested in that project, and if there's an opportunity to work with you guys and Cowichan Tribes.
Yeah, further to what Mike is saying, I actually have a meeting with Cowichan Tribes and a representative from CBRD on the 4th to purposely discuss shoulder widening and active transportation on those roads. So,
oh, that's great. I was really disappointed that we missed the grant opportunity, to learn that we're missing the grant opportunity deadline. Anyway, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Smith, Staples, and then Kuhn.
Thank you, through the chair, to both Mike and Dawn. First, I'd like to thank you for all the work that's taken place in Saltaire. Working with Bryce and Stefan has been amazing over the last couple of years. We've got improved signage. We've got the center line paved in an area that people said we've never had a center line there. So that was quite confusing for them. But it is definitely appreciated, all the extra time that Bryce has taken with me to explore some safety features. I'm looking forward to the Cowichan Valley sidewalk that will go across Chemainus Road near North Watts Road. That will definitely be an improvement. I do wonder about widening the shoulder on Chemainus Road for pedestrian or cycling. The trail only has access at Old Victoria Road, and then it's all the way into Chemainus before you can access it again. So people who live along the Chemainus Road, they have to walk that distance, which could be 1.5 kilometers each way to get to the entrances there. And so those are all good things. I did speak with Bryce earlier that there had been an account on the Chemainus Road at 3 locations in Saltaire. And it turned out within 3 days, there was approximately 12,000 cars go north and south. That's pretty busy. At least I think it's pretty busy. And one of the other things is I did reach out to the Thetis Island group to have their input for today. And they would first off appreciation for Joe and MCON on Thetis for attention given to our roads. Patching has just recently been completed, sealing up cracks and damaged portions of pavement. That was quite the machine I saw. I was quite amazed at it, that it could do both those things all at once. Secondly, is to keep Moore Hill issues on the radar. Diligent repairs have been conducted, residents' concerns responded to, and weekly patrols ongoing. What we don't want to see is Moore Hill as a line item under emergency repair washouts. Pilkey Point residents want to be assured that the road continues to be safe for all vehicles, including heavy commercial traffic, as with many rural areas, there is no detour available or access for emergency vehicles in the event of a road closure. And that is the comments from Thetis. And I'd like to thank you. This is great to have you here today, as most of us are all looking for something. I'm sure your list by the end of today's meeting will be longer than your arms, but thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Director Staples and then Kuhn.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation today, and for all the work that you're constantly doing to upgrade and keep things safe. Sorry, there's a plane behind me right now. So my question, I think, is to similar to Director Nicholson, but just really wanting and hoping that part of the conversation that you're going to be having is about increasing sidewalks along that stretch of road between the bridge and Allenby on the Trans-Canada, because that has, there's been a number of pedestrian incidents on that. It's a crazy dangerous area, and that crosswalk also that exists at Boys Road, that lights, there is a lot of issues with and ongoing issues and challenges with pedestrian safety around those lights. That I know the city and Cowichan tribes, and I believe it might have been North Cowichan, because there is a section there that's owned by North Cowichan, had worked with the ministry when I first was elected almost 10 years ago about putting a plan together to address those safety concerns and to upgrade that area, and that still hasn't come to fruition. And there has been a number of incidents over the years and continues to be. So I would, just ask, I guess, if that is something that will be actually dealt with sometime in the near future, and hope to hear something positive back from you.
The last plan, I think, for that area was, you're right, it's around 2015 or so. And we worked with both CVRD as well as Duncan and North Cowichan on that. And Tribe as well. It's one of those ones that's always on the radar, but we're sort of, there's nothing immediately right now. I know it's sort of more at the north end with the new high school being constructed, actively constructed. We are just re-engaging that group now to sort of reopen this conversation. So knowing that the school will obviously draw more pedestrians crossing the highway up there, we thought it was a good time to sort of relook at the whole thing.
Forward to that.
Thank you. Director Kuhn.
Yes, I have a question for Don, I think. With regard to room on the road right-of-way, and I'm referring to that there's a section in the Woodland Shores subdivision where broom grows between the road and the sidewalk. And I don't even know who's responsible for that. Because part of the property, imagine the sidewalk is on the developer's property. I'm not too sure. So my question is this: if highways is kind of seems to be a bit reluctant to cut the broom everywhere, even along the highways, I have a pretty active group in my community, and they are willing to cut all kinds of broom, but they're running into trouble because it creates a big waste. And is there any help possible from highways or whatever? If my group goes in and says, okay, fine, we'll clean this whole area up, that you guys could pick it up with a truck or whatever, or is there any possible cooperation? Because it creates a big problem. The broom grows everywhere, and it would be nice to get it all cleaned up. Thank you.
Short answer is yes. If you have a group that's willing to do that, get them to call us, and then we will arrange for MCON to pick up the piles.
Could I have a follow-up to that?
Sure.
Are there any legal liabilities or whatever? Because that group of mine, they've cleaned already part of the highway outside Yubo where the welcome to Yubo sign is. And they told me afterwards, I didn't even know they were doing it. And I thought, well, what are the legalities of that? So I just want to get that clear. Is there any insurance?
I was just going to say, one of the things we could do for you, Klaus, is we can set up a adopt a highway section, and then organize it and put signs up the whole bit. And then the idea is that they can, with that, there's usually the province covers the insurance. So there may be an option for us to take a look at.
Okay, maybe what I'll do is I'll have these people get in contact with you, and maybe something could get worked out, because I think it would be helpful for everybody.
So
okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Director Marsh. I got waved off there. Anyone else who wishes to ask a question? I do have two quick questions directly related to your presentation. You mentioned planning around River Road. Would you be planning some, obviously with the amazing work that was done in North Cowichan around the River Road roundabout, are you looking at some kind of controls around the Highway 1 River Road intersection? Because that obviously makes it a very accommodating way to get to the highway, but there's no controlled intersection.
Yeah, basically we're looking at the two options. One would be restricting movements there, and the other being potential whether a traffic light would make any sense. Both of those are in conjunction with as I said, the proposed developments that are going on along between Henry Road and River Road right now, and then also the existing commercial businesses that are there. One of the bigger concerns right now is the use of Smiley Road. The left turn out of there by commercial trucks is quite can be quite challenging. So basically, at this point, it's still a project within development. So we're looking at both of those options.
Thank you. And I would just contend that supporting communities with good traffic controls on the highway, I understand MOTI's job is to keep traffic moving, but safety and support of communities is also very important. And, you know, it would be a shame to see the investment that North Cowichan made in that roundabout to accommodate traffic, and then to see those left-hand turn movements closed like that. There's a question about the shoulder in Yellow Point area, or North Oyster area. There seems to be a fair stretch that was not paved there. The widening was done, the paving was done, and it's amazing for both cyclists and walkers, but there seems to be sort of a gap there of an unpaved section. Is that planning to be paved?
Yeah, we're planning to get the whole thing done. We're, to be quite honest, we picked the easy parts first. So trying to get the ones that we can afford and done quickly before tackling the harder ones.
Yeah, just a short section there. I think just past the school there, there's just a bit of a gap, and it seems like it's all graded and ready to go. I just wondered if maybe there was some other consideration there, some weird property boundary or something. But Okay.
No, just something we'll get to for sure.
And this was just a comment because my nephew was out visiting. That drive on Crofton Road has got to be one of the most pleasant country drives in the region now. It's seriously the smoothest pavement I've driven on in many years. So kudos to the engineering and building teams. But I just have a question because he asked me this. He said we were on our way out to Genoa Bay, and really from Maple Bay all the way into Chemainus now is quite a nice paved surface. But there's that section of Chaplin Street to York, just from Crofton Road there, that, you know, and I don't know if it's, maybe that's more municipal or something like that, but it seems like all of that work was done, and then York is great, and down to the ferry is great, but between York and on Chaplin, between York and Crofton Road there is still, is that planning to be done, or was it just didn't make the cut in the project?
No, it was left out on purpose for two reasons. First of all, BC Ferries they still haven't really made up their mind on the plan for the upgrade at the Crofton terminal. Potentially, that could have some significant road realignment changes there. So, and then secondly, North Cowichan has a bunch of utilities that they need to replace underneath the road. So we wanted both of those things to sort of be sorted out first.
Thank you. I assume there was logical reasons for that, but kudos to all the work that's been done in the region. And the only last comment that I would have was Director Smith brought up the access points along Chemainus Road to the trail network there and the potential of widening the shoulder. I was actually quite shocked at how many accesses there were to the trail from Chemainus Road. I know that there's crosswalks, I believe, at Cook, and then further along at Wilshire, I believe, where the Ma Maison is, so you can access the trail network from Chemainus Road there. I'm looking at Google Maps, and you can see clearly the crosswalks at both of those locations across Chemainus Road to access the trail network. But I think that the challenge is getting from Chemainus Road to those locations, if you're not coming from home, requires parking. And then it becomes a conflict with private property owners and parking and maybe blocking of the shoulder. But absolutely, you know, either widening or providing accesses to the nearby trail system would probably alleviate some of that burden as well. But just a comment there. Director Smith, I assume you want to rebut my comment, but I'll give you the last word and then we can let our presenters go.
Yes, there are some crosswalks, but they only lead to the other side of the road. It's illegal to cross the train tracks.
Ah, good point. Thank you for that.
So there are quite a few ad hoc trails there.
And ironically, crosswalks that lead to ad hoc trails that then lead you to illegally cross the railroad tracks. But that's another discussion for another day when I wear a different hat at ICF. So thank you both very much, not only for all the work. It's very noticeable this year. In the last couple of years, those projects are very community oriented, and I think we all appreciate that, and we'll continue to advocate for more funding to do more great projects in the region. So thank you all, and here's our virtual clap from the board. So it's not very often that MOTI comes to a regional board and gets a round of applause like that. So keep up the good work, both of you and all of your teams, and we'll hopefully see you here next year talking about all the great things that MOTI is doing in the region.
Great. Well, thank you very much again for having us, and Phil, I appreciate all the nice comments today about Stefan and Bryce and Dawn and Tina. So please, Phil, reach out to us anytime, and yeah, look forward to talking to you again.
And we'll keep talking about safe, controlled intersections along Highway 1.
I know.
Thanks, Mike. Hey, I got to get it in where I can get it in, right?
I know.
Thanks. Have a good day, both of you, and we'll see you soon.
You too. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, and thank you to our delegations today. We'll move on. Nothing for report from the chairperson today, but I'll turn it over to Ms. Legault to take us to what's next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On to committee and commission reports. Item CR1 is the report and recommendations of the Special Cowichan Community Centre Commission meeting of July 8th.
I'm Director Yanni DiNardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just pulling it up that it be recommended to the board that the equal grant and aid up to the available funding limit from electoral area D, Cowichan Bay, and electoral area E, Cowichan Station, Satlam, Glenora, be provided to the Duncan Dynamic Gymnastics Club to offset the CVRD and the CVRHD portion of their 2021 property tax bill pending their reclassification to Class 8.
Thank you. Ms. Legault, just a procedural question that we are at the board here. So I know this is a recommendation from the committee, but as far as a board resolution, would it just be that the board, or how do we phrase that? Because this is their recommendation to us, but if the board passes this resolution, we're making a recommendation to ourselves.
Right, so my apology, that was an oversight on my part. It should just, the phrase
Say
that it
that
be
the
recommended
board.
to the board, yeah.
Yeah, that the board. Okay, thank you. Is that moved by Director Yanni DiNardo?
Yes.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Smith. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Report and recommendations of the Community Services Committee meeting of July 14th.
And over to Director Nicholson.
Thank you. I'm reporting on the July 14th meeting and recommending, number one, that the 2021 budget for Function 200 Administration Office be amended to increase provincial grants revenue by $102,000 and increase building improvements by $102,000. And I'm also recommending, number two, that the amendment to the 2021-22 CVRD BC Transit Annual Operating Agreement to eliminate the transit fare for children ages 12 and under, and to include the provincial contribution to, actually, I don't know how to read the rest of this. It's cut off. Maybe Ms. Legault.
Yeah, there's a little check mark unchecked called collapse all items in the top left. Sometimes that fixes it for me, but it says, okay. And to include the provincial contribution to compensate for reduced revenue resulting from the program be approved.
Thank you. Got it.
Moved by Director Nicholson. We have seconder Director Marsh. Any discussion on those? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Director Nicholson. Moving on, Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item CR3 is the report and recommendations of the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of July 21st.
Over to you, back to the Director Yanni DiNardo.
Thank you so much. I'd like to move the recommendations 1 through 5, please.
I saw Director Salmon's hand. Was that a second or a question? It was second? Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Did anyone wish to discuss those items? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to the electoral directors only for 6 through 13.
I see Director Acton and then Director Salmon's hands for those items. Director Acton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to pull number 7. I have some questions before we vote on it, please.
Thank you. And over to Director Salmon.
Pull number 11, please.
Thank you. So with 7 and 11, back to Director Yanni DiNardo. Do you remove the remaining? Do you move, not remove, but move the remaining items?
I do. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a seconder for the remaining items. Seconded by Director Salmon. Any discussion? All items except for 7 and 11 for the electoral directors only. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Back to you, Director Yanni DiNardo.
Thank you. Number 7, that the soil deposit permit number SDC-21-06 Souk Lake Road, PID 009351744 be issued.
Thank you. And Director Acton, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this application is on Souk Lake Road, as is another one that we looked at the same time. So I'm not sure what to do about this. But so I took a second look at it on our break at lunchtime, and I have some questions for staff or the consultant. We have a third-party consultant for it. And the reason why I took a second glance is that location is as close as you can get to Shawnigan Lake, and with the soil dumping, the community is really concerned about any kind of soil runoff that will happen shortly in the wet season. So it's a high anxiety for people. We are in the height of summer, and people are really concerned with the amount of milfoil, and that we are constantly on damage control in Shawnigan Lake. So I would appreciate the committee. I don't see a staff member to answer any of these questions, but I went through our report again, and our third-party consultant, he talks about the stability of the slope, and he suggests that it's different than what the proposal is. And he mentions that it's right by the water course, which is exactly what the community is concerned about. And he also mentions that that we should be asking for the site profiles and asking for those soil information before like the past soil that's already been deposited, that we should be asking for that information. And it's not as large as dump that's happening further up and in other areas of the Malahat, but it's so close to the lake and it's extremely important to the community. So I would like to, I was hoping that there would be staff here to answer some of these questions and concerns, because once we've passed this, we do not have any ability to get those answers. And I would also like to, I also wanted to discuss with staff the possibility of having a public meeting, because that's still in our old bylaw. And because this is so close to the lake, I think the community does have a right to hear about these, about the permitting process. It's an opportunity for us to further educate the community. I'm getting a lot of emails and a lot of calls of concerned residents. Sometimes the information is not correct and there's a misunderstanding. And anyway, that's my concern. So if somebody has I don't feel like this is the place to answer any of these questions. I don't see staff. And I look to my colleagues. Should we refer this back, or?
Yeah, I'm looking to staff for guidance, and I only see Mr. Limshoe, and I don't see anybody popping in. Oh, there's Mr. Carruthers. Mr. Carruthers, Director Acton has questions about the soil deposit permit number 7 in the EAS. Doesn't seem we have members of staff that are able to address the questions here. So I believe the only recourse would be for the directors to send it back to committee.
That's correct. Yeah, if those questions have a material impact on the decision, then I would suggest that you refer it back. Unfortunately, our general manager had a last minute appointment this afternoon, so she's not available. So that would be our alternative. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would move to refer back to EASC then.
Do we have a seconder for that? Director Wilson, any discussion? Okay, so we'll deal with the motion to refer back to EASC for electoral area directors only, I believe, or on a referral motion, is that the entire board, Ms. Legault? It's a land use matter.
Yeah, it's a land use matter, so I think EA.
Okay. Okay, so on the motion to refer back to EAS, electoral area directors only, all those in favor? And opposed? None opposed, the motion carries. So Director Yanni DiNardo, back to you on number 11.
Thank you. That lots 1, 2, 3 of the proposed subdivision of PID 000328197 be exempt from the minimum parcel frontage requirement in accordance with section 512 of the local, mine's cut off too. And the development permit number DP21A02 of 911 Whitaker Road, PID 000328197 be issued. And I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah, I am as well. Sorry about that. Director Salmon, you had your hand up. You had this one pulled.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring up some points on that. So basically, this is the one, I watched the video, I missed the meeting last week, but it's the 3-lot subdivision with 3 panhandles kind of zigzagging up the lot. I'm just quite still concerned, even after talking to staff, that this has future problems just built into it. You know, there's a awkward crossing of Spectacle Creek there, and the MOTI document I looked at sort of said there'd be a shared access, but it's not clear to me who looks after the creek or the bridge in perpetuity. And the second issue that came up as well on that MOTI document is a request for a 20-meter road dedication up the forestry land, which we're apparently not clear whether we're going to need that or whether Mosaic will waive that. So I'm really not ready to approve this, and I think I'd like to refer this back until we can get confirmation on those 2 items.
Thank you. So is that a motion to refer back to EAS? And that was seconded by Director Nicholson. I saw Mr. Limshu come on. Did you want to attempt to address the concerns that were raised?
I'll do my best. So the second point that Director Salmon raised, typically what happens is subdivisions are approved by the Ministry of Transportation. Ultimately, they're the approving bodies for subdivisions within the regional district. They will typically send letters to the applicant outlining a series of conditions that the applicant has to meet with respect to getting their subdivision approved. So this is commonly referred to as the PLR, preliminary layout letter of review. The condition that Director Salmon's indicating is there's a requirement from highways asking the applicant to provide a 20-meter road dedication to provide access to lands beyond. I've had discussions with the consultants for the applicant, and they are working with highways to remove that condition for a couple of reasons. One is that access to lands beyond is Mosaic properties, and there are better alternate access points to those lands. And so certainly there's discussions being had between the applicant and the and Mosaic on that. The other issue relates to the practicality of actually constructing the road off Whitaker to access lands beyond. So there's an acknowledgement, as I understand it, from Ministry of Highways with respect to the difficulties, and they've put it on the applicant to get a letter from Mosaic, the adjacent property owner, concurring that an access wouldn't be needed as part of the subdivision. The fact of the matter is, if this issue is not resolved, then the subdivision will not move forward.
Thank you. And follow-up, Director Salmon?
Well, I still think we'd want to wait and make sure it is, but also that still leaves my second point about the maintenance of the driveway bridge in perpetuity and the details on that.
So to that point, thank you for reminding me. Again, in the letter from the Ministry of Transportation, there's a requirement for the applicant to register what's called a reciprocal easement over all 3 of the proposed lots. And basically the purpose of that is to ensure that all the future property owners are able to utilize the existing driveway in perpetuity. So all 3 property owners would be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of that access point.
Thank you. And we're on the referral now, Director Salmon, so it should be procedurally on the referral itself, but I'll give you another follow-up question and then we can vote on the referral.
Okay, I'm just still, so 3 are jointly responsible. Is that not asking for problems in future if all 3 don't agree the bridge needs maintaining or there's a riparian issue? How does that work in practice?
All 3 are like, it's one of those things, devil's in the details, but typically the way the reciprocal easement works is that all three property owners are responsible for the maintenance. And typically what happens is someone or the group themselves will appoint someone to ensure that funds are allocated, or I've seen situations where each property owner, there's an agreement that each property owner takes their turn in terms of maintaining the access. So the way the access is maintained inevitably will vary between the parties involved. But I think the fundamental is that all three property owners are responsible for maintaining it, as well as ensuring that the access, there is access. So no one party can decide to close off or block that driveway in the future. And that's the whole point of the reciprocal easement.
Thank you. So again, we're on a motion to refer, so I'm gonna follow procedure from now going forward. If you wish to discuss the specifics of the application, it would be rightly done if it was referred to EAS. If the referral is defeated, we can go back to questions on the motion. I did see Director Smith's hand on the referral. All right, so no further discussion on the referral. So this is a motion to refer this item back to EAS for further discussion based on the points that have been raised. I'll call the question for EA directors only. All those in favor? And opposed? Directors Kuhn, Martman, and Morrison opposed. The motion carries. Moving on then, I believe Director Yanni DiNardo, does that conclude your report?
That is my report, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Yanni DiNardo. Moving on to CR4, Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. CR4 report and recommendations of the Regional Services Committee meeting of July 28th from this morning.
Thank you, Director Salmon. Director Toporowski handled it. Can we put it over to her to read out the recommendation? Director Toporowski?
If you have it, Deb.
I do have it. Okay.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. The recommendation from this morning was that a financial contribution agreement for the maximum of $5,000 with the Halalt First Nations be approved.
And moved by Director Toporowski and seconded by Director McGonigal. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On to staff reports. Item SR1 is a report from Legislative Services on the UBCM Strengthening Community Services Grant Resolution. And the recommendation before you is that a regional application by the District of North Cowichan to the UBCM Strengthening Communities Fund 2021 be approved, and that the CDRD supports the District of North Cowichan as the primary applicant that will apply for, receive, and manage the grant funding on behalf of the CDRD.
And moved by Director Staples, seconded by Director Marsh. Just for clarification to the board, this was just the specific wording required by UBCM. This may seem familiar because we already passed a very similar resolution. So just a wording specificity that was required by UBCM on the grant applications. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. And sorry, Director Toporowski, I should have said thank you very much for chairing this morning. You did a great job, and thank you for your report. Appreciate it. Ms. Legault, moving on to SR2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. SR2 is a report from Parks and Trails with an application for funding BC Active Transportation Infrastructure Grant Program, Active Transportation Network Planning Grant, and the recommendation is printed in the agenda.
I have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Director Martman, seconded by Director Morrison. Any discussion? Director Nicholson.
I think it's great to be applying for this grant. However, it seems that we have some projects that we've been trying to get done for quite a bit of time and not making much progress. And I am a little bit concerned that if we were successful in getting this grant, that the staff time would not be available then to work on projects that we've already been trying to get done. So maybe staff could clarify to me that they have enough time to do active transportation work that's already in the works.
Thank you. Through to staff, Mr. Savdi.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. In terms of staff capacity, we have staff allocated partly between parks and community planning services that will be working on the active transportation plan. So that is separate work to the implementation of the specific active transportation design and construction routes, separate resources. The second thing is in terms of the active transportation plan itself, we currently have requests for proposals out to find a consultant to help us initiate and undertake that planning process. That RFP closes on August 6th. So at that point, we would be able to select a consultant and move forward with the work on the active transportation plan with staff being in an advisory role.
Thank you. Any other questions? It's been moved and seconded, Ms. Legault. Thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Moving on, Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On to public hearing minutes. PH1 is for receipt of public hearing minutes of CBRD bylaw 4383, Electoral Area D, Cowichan Bay Official Community Plan Amendment bylaw for 1500 Cowichan Bay Road, and CBRD bylaw 4384, Electoral Area D, Cowichan Bay Upland Zoning Amendment bylaw 2021.
Thank you. Moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Salmon. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item, PH2, is receipt of public hearing minutes and exhibits for CBRD bylaw 4385, Electoral Area F, Cowichan Lake South, Scotts Falls Zoning Amendment bylaw for PID 009411089, 2021. Be received.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Kuhn. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bylaws, item B1, CBRD bylaw 4392, Municipal Ticket Information Authorization Amendment, Schedule Changes bylaw 2021 for first, second, and third readings.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Smith. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
CBRD bylaw 4392, Municipal Ticket Information Authorization Amendment, Schedule Changes bylaw 2021 for adoption.
Moved by Director Marsh and seconded by Director Yanni DiNardo. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Bylaws for Electoral Area Directors, BEA 1, second reading, CBRD bylaw 4270, Cowichan Valley Regional District Official Community Plan for the Electoral Areas bylaw, rescind second reading.
Moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Wilson. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
CBRD bylaw 4270, Cowichan Valley Regional District Official Community Plan for the Electoral Areas bylaw 2020 for second reading as amended.
Moved by Director Salmon, seconded by Director Yanni DiNardo. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
BEA 2, CBRD bylaw 4329, Cowichan Valley Regional District bylaw revision bylaw, official community plan and zoning bylaws 2020 for third reading.
Moved by Director Smith, seconded by Director Salmon. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
CBRD bylaw 4329, bylaw revision, official community plan and zoning bylaws 2020 for adoption.
Moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Salmon. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
BEA 3, CBRD bylaw 4349, cannabis uses 2021 for first and second readings.
Moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Salmon. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
BEA 4, CBRD bylaw 4383, Electoral Area D, Cowichan Bay Official Community Plan Amendment bylaw for 1500 Cowichan Bay Road for third reading.
Moved by Director Salmon, seconded by Director Yanni DiNardo. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Legault.
CVRD bylaw 4383, electoral area D, Cowichan Bay official community plan amendment bylaw, 1500 Cowichan Bay Road, PID 005490227, 2021 for adoption.
Moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Kuhn. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
On to BEA 5, CVRD bylaw 4384, electoral area D, Cowichan Bay upland zoning amendment bylaw, 1500 Cowichan Bay Road, 2021 for third reading.
Moved by Director Yanni DiNardo, seconded by Director Kuhn. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Did you need a water break, Ms. Legault? You're good? Okay, please continue.
CVRD bylaw 4384, electoral area D, Cowichan Bay upland zoning amendment bylaw, 1500 Cowichan Bay Road, 005490227, 2021 for adoption.
Moved by Director Acton, seconded by Director Morrison. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
BEA 6, CVRD bylaw 4385, electoral area F, Cowichan Lake South, Scotts Falls zoning amendment bylaw, PID 009411089, 2021 for third reading.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Yanni DiNardo. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? And opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. BEA 7, CVRD bylaw 4393, electoral areas official community plan amendment bylaw 2021 for first and second readings.
Moved by Director Salmon, seconded by Director Nicholson. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
BEA 8, CVRD bylaw number 4394, electoral area G, Saltaire Gulf Islands official community plan amendment bylaw 2021 for first and second readings.
Moved by Director Smith, seconded by Director Nicholson. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Legault.
Finally, BEA 9, CVRD bylaw 4395, electoral area G, Saltaire Gulf Islands zoning amendment bylaw 2021 for first and second readings.
Moved by Director Smith, seconded by Director Martman. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. We almost got the whole team in on those. Ms. Legault, to move us along, where are we at now?
On to new business, which was the correspondence we added at the beginning from Paul Manley regarding a request to sign a joint letter on freighter anchorages in the Southern Gulf Islands.
Thank you, and I would turn it over to the directors for a motion or discussion. Director Marsh, and then Nicholson. Director Marsh, and then Nicholson.
Yeah, I'd like to move it.
That we do sign on to the letter?
Yeah, I haven't read the letter, but I imagine it is what we've all been asking for, which is to get those freighters out of our waters. And so as long as that's what the letter says, instead of inviting more, I support the motion to add our name.
Okay, and I believe that was seconded by Director Salmon. Okay, and sorry, I had Director Nicholson next on my speakers list. Anyone else who would like to speak to it, please, you can go next. Director Nicholson.
Thanks. I am fully supportive of the resolution. I don't think we need more anchorages damaging sensitive ecosystems in the Gulf Islands.
Thank you. Any others that wish to speak to the motion? Just from some experience, I'm sure our director from Area G can also attest, as well as our North Cowichan and Chemainus directors. A lot of it also has to do with the lack of oversight and regulation with the anchorages. You know, although I'm very pragmatic and balanced with my approach to these concerns, there isn't enough regulation and oversight on these anchorages. So I'm happy to support the letter and further the discussion. I'll go to Director Morrison. He hasn't spoken, and then Director Marsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just looking at this information now. Sadly, I didn't get to it before, but I'm just curious. I know the Member of Parliament for Cowichan Valley, forget the constituency name, anyways, has been working on this as well. So I just want to make sure that I don't know if we've done a similar thing, or if there's any joint collaboration between the two members, but just want to make sure that there's no cross purposes in anything that's been done here. So I'm supportive of the intent of this, but I'd just like to maybe ask that the chair or staff double check to make sure that we're not speaking out of both sides of our mouth at the same time and misspeaking. So thank you.
Thank you. And yes, we have had discussions with our MP McGregor as well as MP Manley. And although there might be some subtle differences, their approaches are very much similar in better oversight regulation and hopefully some mitigation and minimization of the number and frequency of anchorages within the Gulf Islands area. Any further discussion, Director Marsh?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that one of the frustrating things, if we've had to have these, and it's been for many years, they stay there for months and months and they don't pay any moorage at all. They're saving a lot of money. And there's a lot of, I see it from my home, but I don't live that close to the ocean that I would call it light pollution. It doesn't keep me awake, but there's plenty of people on Thetis and some of the smaller islands who have a challenge with the light pollution. So I hope that the board will support this.
Thank you. Director Yanni DiNardo.
Yeah, very supportive of this that we've been working with for a long time. Myself, Alistair McGregor, Cowichan Bay Shipwatch. So this is something, meeting after meeting, this is something we've been working on. So whoever wants to sign on is appreciated. But it is good to cross-reference, as Director Morrison has said.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Director Manhas opposed. Motion carries. Moving on, Ms. Legault, I believe that takes us to question period. So this will be likely, if things continue to stay abated, I believe we may come back to an in-person meeting after our August break. But let's be hopeful around COVID. I noticed today masking is reinstituted in the central Okanagan, and there does seem to be increased infection rates. So we may come back to Zoom meetings or WebEx meetings in this case. Hopefully not. That was my little PSA about please still be careful with COVID, folks. But we'll move on to question period. We'll take a 10-minute recess, be back at 3:04 p.m. Thank you.
Video's live.
Thank you, Ms. Legault. Do we have anyone joining us for question period this afternoon?
We do not.
Thank you. I will just cede a quick moment before we adjourn to Director McGonigal, who did ask me and I had forgotten to allow him to make a quick announcement. So Director McGonigal, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for your indulgence, Mr. Chair and fellow directors. On behalf of the Cowichan Lake Community Forest Cooperative, myself and Director Morrison, as the elected appointees to that organization, met with Gretchen Hartley of Cowichan Hospice. You may have saw the media release for a significant contribution to that excellent organization in the amount of $100,000. These funds were made available through a community forest partnership with the Pachidat First Nations and leaves a legacy not only for our area, for the region of a whole. And our board of directors was proud to make that presentation and provide the support for many people throughout the region. So I just wanted to mention that and thank Director Morrison for joining me for that significant contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Significant doesn't say it well enough, but thank you very much. And to the Forest Co-op and the Pachidat Nation and all the contributors to such a great group and great facilities that they run in our region. With that, I believe we're at the end of our agenda and we can ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to close the meeting to the public.
Oh, my apologies. A motion to close the meeting to the public, moved by Director Kuhn, seconded by Director Morrison. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. We're in closed. Ms. Legault, we do have another meeting invite for that session. And so we'll turn around and